Hi, I'm Jesse Maltin, and I'm going to introduce you to Hannah Pearl Utt, who is the director and one of the stars, and Jen Tullock, who is the star, one of the writers, and these two ladies. This is Hannah, and that is Jen. And wasn't that movie lovely? It's a really lovely film. Hi, guys.
Hi. I'm chewing up a mint.
It's very, and we appreciate that. So this movie, I wanted to show my parents, I wanted to show my friends, because it's really beautifully done. And I know that you guys did it through Sundance Institutes. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
We did, so Jen and I had a short that we wrote and produced and we're in, I don't know why I popped my collar.
Do you want to be cool? It's all right.
That was at the festival in 2016. Mm-hmm. And then the next year, our producer did the Producers Lab, the Creative Producing Lab with this movie. And then the following year, I did the Director's Lab, which Jen also came and acted in, so we were able to workshop scenes there. And then that's followed by the Screenwriter's Lab, where we got to workshop the script.
And you were able to bring in Judith Light.
Yeah, that's where we met her.
Yeah, I mean, part of the amazing build-in and the labs is that they provide you these phenomenal actors to workshop the scenes. And it really is a labor of love because nothing's ever done with that footage. They just come. It's sort of like theater camp, but higher stakes and a lot of sweat. But it's dry sweat because it's in Utah.
Right.
And so that's a perk.
And there's no massage circles.
Well, we did, I think never in a million years did we imagine that we would find the person that was right for that role. And Judith is one of the warmest and most generous human beings in addition to her phenomenal talent. So it became clear pretty early on that there was no doing the movie without her, I think.
Yeah.
She taught us a lot about the character, and the notes that she had on the script were amazing, and it was she just understood it almost better than we did, I think. We realized at a certain point that we were judging her character. And then as soon as we could put Judith's face to it, we were like, we can't judge you. Who would judge you? You're an angel.
But and you're casting your mom. Yeah, Judith Light's pretty great mom.
Yeah. And she's not she doesn't have children of her own, but she, I think, definitely fills that role for a lot of young folk in her life.
I've been working that out in therapy for about 6 months. In a good way. We just got so attached to her. And I think, it's true, it's a cliche, but when you work in those familial dynamics, especially in a story that's this intense, even though a lot of it's funny, it's inevitable. We got very close with her. Yeah.
Well, it is funny. What makes it feel real and feel like family is nothing is all one way. So Mandy Patinkin, which we have to talk about Mandy Patinkin, guys.
We always have to talk
How
about
did that happen?
He was a late addition because Mel was dead for a long time.
The character. Mandy's still with us.
And we realized at a certain point that in order to understand the dysfunction of this family and how these women have been stunted by living within his orbit, we needed to meet the guy. And we needed to understand why they stayed for so long. And so we needed someone with Mandy's charisma and also Mandy's edge. And how did we get him? He
came in the 11th hour through a series of incredibly powerful Hollywood women. That was one of the last roles to be filled. And
yeah, we were in a bit of a pickle for various reasons, again, because he was a late addition to the script and whatever, it was happening very last minute, and so we needed to get it to him quickly. And we heard that he was really picky and could take a while to read, and his manager, Iris Grossman, got it through a woman I was working with and loved it enough to kind of fast track it to him, and then he just connected to the script.
You even had the ghost of Mandy's past. Like that, when you see Ghost Mandy, I thought, wow, you've really done it.
I think that was part of what drew him to it. He was really vulnerable with us about getting older. He has a really good relationship with his sons, and his fear about not being around forever, and I do think that was a big part of why he connected to the role.
Yeah. And how the actions of your earlier years when you're mid evolution, we don't have a choice in how those affect our progeny or the people that we love in general. And that was something that he was very generous in sort of bringing his own experiences to.
The other two names, of course, you've got Alec Baldwin, but also Tim Daly. Yeah. And he's listed as one of the producers, which is really cool. Yeah. And where did they come from? Where the hell did you find Tim Daly? Now, where
at the same motel.
We just made an offer. We said, Tim, we want you to play Ronnie. He's mostly in the background. He was working on a movie with one of our producers, Josh Hetzler, and that movie got pushed, and the woman who was going to be financing that movie still had money to put into a movie, and
you said, I will take your money.
Yeah, and
yep. That's actually just the story. But I have to, clearly there was some element of working with like big energies from our childhoods, just with that particular collection of people.
Sure.
They all happen to ping on our radars in very important ways when we were younger.
Wings, man.
And it was like, oh yeah, Alex so cool, and we have Judith amazing, and Mandy, of course. I got to tell you, when Tim Daly walked in, I was like, I watched Wings like it was my church, and he was like, that's really sweet. I don't care, but I couldn't look him in the eye. I had a hard time.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
He's what we like to call a goddess.
What we call a kind man.
We had only goddesses on our set. That's right. And also just connected to the material and wanted to support us and what we were doing. With his son, Sam, who's also in the movie. So they got to...
He plays the sort of angry writer who tells Judith not to hit his dad.
Angry writer.
They look all
There you
alike,
go.
don't they? He's beautiful. The beautiful stock.
I don't know if he's single. I'm sorry.
No, unfortunately,
married with a baby.
Ronnie and Damien. They did have more compelling arcs that unfortunately, due to time, we had to get rid of. But
That's the hard part of editing a film, is that you have to make those really painful decisions and sometimes get rid of stuff. But thankfully, hopefully you put out a Blu-ray, what have you. That's when you can add some of those scenes.
We'll have some deleted scenes on the Blu-ray. Yes.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Love some more of my singing scenes. There weren't any.
They're not on there.
All right, so you two troublemakers, how far back do you go?
43 years? We met...
You're not old enough for that.
A decade, honey, I'm 73 years young. We met in New York when we were in our 20s, and we were both working creatively, I will put it to you that way. And then we were also waitressing together at a restaurant in Brooklyn. So living off of peanuts and drinking our weight in beer. And had both started as actors, but were also writers, and had kind of bobbed in and out of different mediums, and were trying to figure out what we wanted to do, and really only knew when we met that we had similar sensibilities and that we were different enough that it felt like a good contrast. And so our friendship started there first. And I had Hannah didn't know that I was gay, and she thought that I was hitting on her friend's boyfriend. That's technically how we met. We were at a party, and I was talking to this guy because we played in a jazz band together.
And I really did not like him. Actually, that was the main issue. I was like, you have terrible taste. Aside from the fact that you're shady, your taste is...
I was like, so do you. Men are terrible. But then we became friends once we sorted through that drama. And then, the work part sort of followed naturally behind. This is actually the first thing we started working on together, a much older version of it years ago. And then since then, we made a short, and we made a series called Disengaged together. But
everything we made was... it was in service of getting this made, and in the meantime, we got ourselves to a point where we were ready to make this and able to.
But I mean, to be both writing, you're directing, and then starring in a film, that's a lot for anyone. And even the most seasoned of actors, that is a real skill. And you have to have a team around you that you trust implicitly. So what for you was the hardest? What was the easiest?
The hardest was, sorry, I'm a little under the weather, which is why I'm a little slow. I'm normally very smart and funny. The hardest part, I think, was just the giving myself the same time that I gave the other actors. Just giving myself time, like knowing where we were at in our day and that we needed to move on, but that we still needed to get my coverage. I found myself rushing often to just kind of stick the landing or get whatever little piece I needed rather than actually doing any sort of exploration.
What's a lot? It's a lot to do.
Yeah, and like the crying days were hard.
Sure.
Just because it was physically exhausting.
Yeah.
And it's embarrassing, you know, like when you're like sobbing in a gown and then having to like talk to your crew and expect them to take you seriously. It's like, I know, I get it. I'm a clown. Like, and then the easiest part was acting with Jen always. I could just count on that. That was, I felt like when I was able to relax as an actor, because it's something we've done before, and she's a wild one. I never know what she's going to give me.
We also had incredible producers. I mean, Mallory Schwartz in particular was, I think, we'd been developing this with her for so long, and she had since become a close friend of ours that I think she was really able to fill in a lot of blanks and be an incredible support for Hannah, who also, you just ran a really efficient set. I think that's...
No, it's true. Having Mallory and my assistant is her ex-girlfriend, but
it was great for me.
Also,
she was like, "How much fun is this going to be?" And I was like, "It's already happened." Okay.
But before she was Jen's girlfriend, she was my best friend from birth. So she's like family, and having her and Mallory at monitor all the time. Sophia I could come to with my insecurities and be like, that suck, and just, you know, have her kind of pick me back up, and Mallory would be like, you should go again.
But that's why you have those people. Oh, you have those people you trust who love you enough to tell you to go again.
You also kept a monitor with you the entire time, which I think is not always the case.
Yeah, I did have a handheld monitor, and then you don't move on until you watch playback. I did that a couple times. That is a terrible idea.
Would you want to do it again? Would you want to direct yourself again?
Not on the next one.
Okay.
And I don't know that I'll ever do it in a leading role again.
Would you want to direct, Jen?
Yes. I have a much different relationship to it than Hannah does. I mean, historically, I had done it out of necessity on much smaller things. The idea of directing a feature, to me, feels like performing your own root canal. But I also am titillated by it. I mean, I'm working on something that I'm writing right now that I would, in theory, direct, yes. But it would be my first time directing something that big. And I learned a lot from her. I mean, selfishly, that was a huge part of it because she has been doing this for longer. And I think that there is such an efficiency and ease and kindness and generosity with which she works with actors in particular that I was like, okay, I got that. Taking notes the entire time. Yes, but not right away is my answer.
Okay. Again, I mean, it's a lot to take on. It's enough to have just written it and be performing it. You know, that's a lot by itself. And then, as you say, listening to notes.
I shouldn't have.
You shouldn't have done that. That's not a good idea. No. It's to me, it's mesmerizing to take on that many roles at the same time because it is just a lot. And as you say, being an actor, that's enough because you're having to give all of these emotions every day. So I can't imagine doing the back and forth.
I think it makes the hiring process really exciting because you're always going to be leaning on your creative team, but like you have to set things in motion so that you can step away.
Yeah.
And so you need to be hiring people who are like exactly on your same wavelength, who you can kind of communicate with without speaking sometimes.
I think another thing that was pivotal in that regard was that we, between us, had such a solidified idea of what chain of command was because we wrote it together, she was directing it, and we were acting in it. it was very clear from early on that people, sometimes in the cast, would come up to me and ask me a question. I would be like, that's not a question for me. That's a question for her. And I think it was important going into it that we knew how to navigate that without it getting conflated, without people being confused. Because, I think there were some situations where people go, okay, well, you guys are the story. And that's where it stopped, instead of you're directing this film, like this is your film. Yeah. And so I think that was important early on, and something that I was happy we had figured out beforehand.
That's maturity and respect as well. And obviously you love each other. And
that's
so
sharing a therapist too.
We do have the same therapist, that's true. We do have a really rich shared language of almost
and a really
losing it.
rich therapist.
Is he getting points on the back end of
It's
this
a
movie?
shame.
Just
It's a
saying you're
shame.
welcome.
She does have a credit. She does have a special thanks, actually.
Oh, well. Thank you for...
She does.
Oh, that's incredible.
Oh, man. And I love the music. And I just learned music supervisor is related to you.
So the music supervisor is Hannah's partner's brother, and the composer is my brother.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. I thought the music was really beautiful. I hope you do a soundtrack. I hope that's
We will. Yeah, Phil just put...
just for me, not for anyone else.
Yep, Phil just put one
We'll send
together
it to
for
you.
you.
Thank
so
you.
we'll send it.
Thank you.
No, it'll be on... He just put together a playlist on Spotify. So
Oh, great. That's great. It was
It'll
lovely.
be out there for free.
Hooray.
I keep forgetting that this is being filmed.
It's okay. You're great. You're all right.
Hannah's had about 6 pints a day, Quill. We're all feeling good.
You're sitting next to a parrot. You're fine. Don't worry about it. You're okay. But so what? You finished it, and that on its own is a big deal. And then you took it to Sundance. And what was that like for you guys?
Sundance was great. It was, it was better than I anticipated. I think it helped that we'd been there and we'd already, we were familiar with the Institute and had friends at the Institute. And I thought I don't know, I thought it was going to be more manic than it was, but I actually felt very calm and excited to share the movie with the people who worked on it. We had a lot of our crew there, a lot of our cast. And we all stayed in a big house together. So at the end of the day, rather than going to the weird parties, which can also be very fun, we just got to like hang out and debrief, and it was the most time we'd all gotten to spend together since the movie. And that part I thought was really
It was
nice.
like we had so much of our cast and crew came. More so than we could have anticipated, and we were in a giant house with everyone. It was like a debrief camp with a lot of whiskey and a strange fireplace, but it was really incredible. It was also cool because we had gone through the labs the summer before, and a couple of other friends so our friend Tyresha Poe made an incredible film called Silent in the Spades, which was there that year as well. So that felt really special because it was like graduating with a friend,
Yeah. That's a big deal. Did you watch it with an audience?
I did. That first night I did, yeah. As soon as the opening credits rolled, I disintegrated. I was just like, I'm done. I did it. Bye. Yeah, and then of course, and then the after party, you're like, oh my God, what have I done? But I did watch it. I'm glad I watched it. It was at the library, which is, it's the perfect size.
Yeah. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit less daunting.
Yeah.
But intimate, which is exactly what a movie like this needs,
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
We've
It
played in
feels
some
that way.
big theaters. Actually, it played very well at the Castro Theater, which is huge.
Which is gorgeous.
But I think
That's a
because
fantastic
it's
theater.
layered and it's just
Yeah.
such a warm audience, it felt
Yeah.
smaller. But
I love that's a wonderful theater to play at.
theater's awesome.
Wow. So it's your baby, and you did it, and it's come together. And do you know when it's being released?
No, I just heard something recently. It's being released on the 30th.
Okay.
But
Of
I
August.
heard
Of August.
a filmmaker say, my movies are my babies, they're my exes.
I'll go with that. That's fine.
And I really like that.
But you're still close with, and maybe like text when you're
I'm
drunk.
still friends with. I still love them. I still
Right.
think about going back there. Sorry. Oh my God. I hope my boyfriend doesn't watch this. I don't think about my exes that way.
I think about your exes
But
that way.
at this point, it's like we're trying to push this thing out of the nest.
Yeah.
Like, go, have
Well,
a life.
So how long altogether have you been working on this from the short to now?
Well, there was never, so the short was a different story. It was something else, but the short happened in 2016. This script we started a version of, but it's had many incarnations. I mean, 9 years ago.
Wow.
It was called something else. There was so much was different. There was characters were dead that are now in the film. Characters that are in the film used to be dead. At one point, it took place in the 90s. Like it went through a lot of lives. But yeah, off and on for 9 years. It was really when Mallory came on that we had a solid trajectory for it. But it was in a sort of nebulous gestation for
I think this
a while.
movie's been like 4 years. The movie that we wound up making we've been working on for about 4 years. 5 years, maybe?
5.
Yeah. Wow. So
It's easy, right? You just make a movie. You know, 1, 2,
everybody
3.
should make a movie.
Just make a movie.
I think
Just call
the
a
next
therapist.
one won't take so long. I think that's how this works.
Yeah.
This one also was particularly challenging, I think, because we had the idea. Jen had the idea of sisters who find out their mom's alive and on TV when we were babies and didn't know anything about writing or what we wanted to say. And we loved that premise so much that we really wanted to make it work, and we continued retrofitting it to what we were trying to do as artists. And so it was almost this process of like getting to know a thing we'd been living with for we didn't really know it until I would say
Like
the
retailoring
last
the same pair of pants for a
year
decade.
that we were working on it. But at a certain point, it was like, whose pants are these?
Like, I'm not wearing any pants.
And then it was like, okay, let's get fabric we like. Let's actually like.
Oh, you're gonna see this through.
Yeah. Jen, you let her live this metaphor. You let her live it.
Singer girl.
But that's not the case with the things we're working on now. You know, we have an idea that is, a thing that we need to say right now.
That part of it was really specific and not like anything else we've made together, or I'm confident saying as individuals, which was that when you grow in tandem with something, the beauty of that is, of course, it's now sort of a Rolodex of the past 10 years of your experiences and worldview. But the danger is that it's a Rolodex of the last 10 years of your experiences and worldview. So it was like, there were moments where we would be sifting through something in the story, and it was like, do we think that anymore? I can't believe we ever thought that. That's terrible. And like, thank God we didn't make the movie then, so.
Yes, it had to kind of have a rebirth. It had to grow out of the ashes of the many different versions.
They are family albums. They're
Yes.
definitely that.
Yeah. It's like trying to have a new relationship with your parent once you've had an honest conversation with them.
Never goes well. But that's, as I say, it's a really lovely film, and I'm happy that you guys were able to finish it. And I hope you're happy with it. Hope you're happy with how it came together. And I'm excited for people to see it, because it is a
Us
movie that
too.
needs to be seen.
August 30th, please spread the word.
Do you know, is it going to be theaters? Is it going to be some
It'll be in
theater, some
theaters.
streamy?
It'll be in 100 theaters at least.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's good. We like movies in theaters. We also like streaming. Streaming is good. Gets a lot of people out there, gets their work out into the universe.
Stream eventually. Yeah,
Yeah.
but theaters
But
first.
theaters
So
are nice.
Plan some nice date nights.
Yeah.
Hang out with some new friends. I don't know. Is that how you go to movies? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, we don't know each other very well. Let's sit in the dark together
are you
for
doing
2
here?
hours.
Cannot take you to anywhere. Is there anything that you're working on that you can share coming up?
Do you want to start?
Sure. I just finished writing on a new Funny or Die show with our friend Nora Kirkpatrick that I'm also in. I play a Polish spy, so that old chestnut.
Typecasting.
It's called The
Yeah.
Coop. It'll be out in September. And I'm working on a feature that's based on some stuff about my upbringing in Kentucky in a megachurch. And yes, spicy. It's spicy. And then Hannah is working on...
I'm working on a movie about. Do I want to talk about it? Yeah, it's a queer rom-com that will be starring Miss Tullock. It's about a person who's obsessed with excellence, who's put their life on hold for their career, deciding they're finally at a point where they can start looking for love. And it's them struggling as they apply that kind of fucked up view of the world to romance.
Well, all right then.
And it's called Goldilocks.
Goldilocks. Okay. We have some nice stuff to look forward to, my friends. Thank you guys so much. And thank you again for the movie.
Yeah,
And now-
thanks for watching.
Cool to be in this building again.
Yeah.